It's another milliput project today, folks, and what I've done is I've made these black canes out of the black milliput, and they're set now, and I'm going to wrap those in some terracotta milliput. What I'm going to do is mix this up, roll it out flat, and wrap it around each of these canes, and then I'm going to let that set. These are my little canes that I've made. They're wrapped in, the black milliput is wrapped in terracotta milliput. It's quite difficult to do. I rolled out the terracotta between two sheets of baking parchment, and I've then rolled each one up, each of the black rods up in the terracotta. I haven't quite decided how I'm going to set them. They're going to be a slightly random pattern. I don't mind if they're a bit irregular, but yeah, that's where we're at. But they're all set now, ready to be chopped up. This is a Bubinga hardwood bowl blank that I got off John Davis Woodturning in Stockbridge in Hampshire. It's a lovely wood Bubinga. It's very hard. It's an African hardwood. It gives a lovely finish. And to start with, I'm just truing up the bowl, getting it to round. The more true it runs, the faster you can run the lathe, and the better the cut you'll get on it. I'm just doing some push cuts across the side of the blank here, like I say, just getting it to round. I'm starting to put some shape to the bowl now. Most of the footage of the lathe work is at twice normal speed. I'm starting here to shape the back of the bowl using a 1/2 inch bowl gouge, Robert Sorby bowl gouge, with fingernail grind, and the bevel angle is 45 degrees. I'm rubbing the bevel as I'm going here, doing push cuts here, just to shape the bowl, taking corners off and progressively creating a round curve. I keep moving the tool rest in towards the workpiece as I reduce it. You want to keep the tool rest as close to the workpiece as possible. This maximises the control you have, down to leverage principles, and it minimises the chance of chatter or vibration. Optimising the position of the tool rest so that I can maintain a nice continuous cut as I create the curve. I switch from a push cut to a scraping action here, just to help refine that curve. Just starting to refine the shape a little bit here. Here I'm using my bowl gouge just to neaten up the profile of the base, making sure it's going to be flat, sit level, and then I'm turning the bowl gouge on its side so the face is closed, and I'm using the lower wing as a shear scraper. The upper wing is just clear of the workpiece. I'm just taking light cuts, and what I'm doing is refining the shape, making sure that there's no ridges and I've got a nice smooth curve all the way around. I'm creating the recess for the chuck jaws. This is a 52mm diameter recess, and I'm using a parting tool, a very sharp parting tool to do this. Just removing the material from the middle of the recess there, working my way towards the centre. I'm neatening up the recess and creating a slight undercut with the skew chisel as a scraper. Sanding the back of the bowl with a rotary sanding system. This is the Simon Hope sander, and 120 to 320. I've applied 2 coats of cellulose sanding sealer. I'm just trying to fill all the pores and grain as best possible. More Yorkshire Grit, just to get a beautiful finish on the bowl. Don't be shy putting this on. I find it works better if you use a fair bit of it, and you just work it in with the lathe spinning. I think the lathe was going at about 600 here. I'm just working it and working it. You'll feel it get finer and finer. The grit gradually gets finer. It produces a finer and finer finish. Make sure you clean away all the used Yorkshire Grit. I use several new bits of cloth just to make sure I get rid of all the trace of Yorkshire Grit. It's done its job. I've turned the bowl round and I'm truing up the front face, doing some shear scraping just across the front face there. You may have noticed the big hole in the front of the bowl, in the top of the bowl, and that's where one of the screws sheared off when I was trying to take the face plate off. I was using an impact driver, and it does that sometimes. I won't be using those screws again, but I had to Dremel out the broken off bit of screw before I could start turning, otherwise you can have a nasty accident. I'm starting the hollowing here with my 1/2 inch bowl gouge. Here I'm using a 1/2 inch bowl gouge, Robert Sorby bowl gouge, with a 50-degree bevel angle and the heel taken off, just so that I can do nice curves on it. Very sharp. Had to resharpen it several times doing this because this wood is quite hard and it does blunt tools quite quickly. And as you can see, the shavings are coming towards the lens here, and at some point the camera got covered in shavings and I didn't notice, so I lost rather a lot of footage, but you get the idea. We're just taking, you know, gradually more and more out of the middle. These are some of the final cuts, just there where I've got the shape just about as I want it. This is a special depth checking jig that I've built. I got this off Sam Angelo, the Wyoming woodturner. I'm using a Robert Sorby heavy duty scraper here, bowl scraper, and Robert Sorby bowl rest, so that I can get right inside the bowl with the rest, the minimal overhang. This is very sharp, this scraper. I resharpen it several times, and I'm doing very light, gentle cuts so that you avoid a catch. I'm angling it down at times so that it's acting as got a slight negative rake on it, but be careful doing this. Light cuts only, because if you get a catch and you've angled it down, it'll be a bad catch. More of the good old Yorkshire Grit being applied. Loads of it. Work it well in, and then just let the lathe do the work. They'll be a bit repetitive in this video because some of these stages are repeated over and over. But you just keep working the grit until it gets finer and finer, and it gives a finer and finer finish. I'm applying a thin coat of Hampshire Sheen High Gloss wax finish. I'm buffing the Hampshire Sheen High Gloss. This gives a lovely finish. Very pleased with this finish. Can't recommend that enough. Fantastic. Here's the bowl. I've cut a recess around the side. This is Bubinga again, like the last project. And I've cut a recess around the side for the inlay. I've just mixed up some white milliput and I've done it into little worms because I'm going to be packing that around these little pieces that I've cut from those canes I made. So I'm going to be embedding those in the recess with white around them, and as you can see I've made quite a few of them. So that's that, and there's the white. I shall get back to you once I've done that. There's the bowl with it all squidged in. That took a long while. Very tedious. It should come out alright. I've got quite a good feeling about this one. But, there we are. That's it. All those little discs squidged in. Here I'm using a negative rake scraper just to remove all the bumps from the surface to get it round and flat. Before I'm using shear scraping with a bowl gouge. If you don't get rid of the bumps, you're more likely to get a catch or a bit break out. This is the most exciting bit really, because you can see the pattern gradually emerge. You're never sure how it's going to look, but it's quite satisfying. I'm using the lower wing of the bowl gouge in a shear scraping movement, and that's just reducing it down to its final shape. Here I'm taking it right down ready for sanding, so it's just about flush with the wood. I'm rotary sanding from 120 to 320 using the Simon Hope sanding system. I'm just applying 2 coats of cellulose sanding sealer to this, making sure that I've filled as many of the pores and as much of the grain as I possibly can, so that it's ready for the Yorkshire Grit. I'm applying Yorkshire Grit, which is a Woodturner's abrasive paste. Now I put a generous amount of this on, I use quite a lot. I rub it in all over the workpiece with the lathe stationery, so you make sure everything's well coated in it. And then with the lathe running, I think I had it running at about 600 RPM, I rub the Yorkshire Grit backwards and forwards across the surface, and the grittiness of it gradually reduces as you do this. It becomes finer and finer, producing a finer and finer finish. And I tend to keep going until I can't really feel it cutting anymore, and it leaves a fantastic finish. It's just a case then of buffing it away, removing all the excess Yorkshire Grit, and then it's ready for waxing. The Yorkshire Grit's done its job, so just buffing all that away, and that leaves a lovely shine. I'm just giving this a final polish and buff up using Martin Sabin-Smith's Hampshire Sheen High Gloss version, and works really well on this project. I got a beautiful finish. It's come up lovely. It works really well with the milliput. As you can see, a lovely shine. Sorry if there's a bit of wind noise. I'm outside. Still got a bit of daylight, so I thought I'd show you the bowl. And here it is. Bubinga with milliput inlay, and yeah, well, it's a sort of a bullseye pattern, hence the title. Yeah, I'm very pleased with that. It's one of my favourite milliput designs I've done, I think, so far. Come out very well, nice polish to it, and yeah, nicer bowl really. I like the shape, and it's a bit different with the being on the outside, really like that. But I hope you like it. Big thanks to all my subscribers and all my new subscribers. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. And yeah, there's more videos to come. Please like, share and subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. There we are. I'll put some stills up at the end. Cheers.